Okay, last time I talked about Bob Costas and his stupid remark. He was quoting a man named Jason Whitlocks. If I'm saying his name wrong, I don't care. I've actually never knew about Jason, even though I'm a sports fan, but I was ignorant of his existence up until a few weeks ago, until last week. Jason said the NRA is the new KKK. Now, all my viewers know this. When you challenge me on history, you're going to lose. Guess what, Jason? You lost. You lost the minute you opened your mouth and the minute out of my ear. You lost. Now, the National Rifle Association was founded in 1871 by a group of Union officer veterans of the Civil War who were almost certainly Republican because the entire Union was Republican back then. It was you had to look really hard to find a Democrat in the Union. But it was founded as a gun club, encouraging the shooting sport, and now it became a foundation for the last stand of the Second Amendment, basically. The Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan was founded in 1866 by 6 Confederate veteran officers of the Civil War. All of them were registered Democrats. Yes. They founded the organization to dress up in white robes and white hoods to scare the locals. They wanted the locals to believe that they were ghosts of Civil War dead. People were very superstitious back then, and they were believed. Now, the 13th Amendment officially abolishes slavery. 100% of Republicans voted for it. 77% of Democrats voted against it. The 14th Amendment, the original Civil Rights Act, gives everyone citizenship. That gives the former slaves their citizenship. You can't be denied citizenship based on your color, religion, or past history of servitude. 100% of Republicans voted for, 100% of Democrats voted against. Ulysses S. Grant, General of the Civil War, second Republican president, ratified the 14th Amendment. The 15th Amendment gives all the former slaves the right to vote. 100% Republicans vote for, 100% Democrats vote against. So the next time some fool tells you the Republicans have such a history of keeping blacks from the polls, spit it in their face for me, please. Thank you. Okay. Now, after the 15th Amendment was ratified, the Republican Party took it upon themselves to register black men to vote. Women couldn't vote until 1920. The Democratic Party hired the Ku Klux Klan to work as their enforcers. Back then they called it sabotage, today they call it terrorism. And they ordered the Ku Klux Klan to launch a terrorist campaign against the Republican Party to stop the Republican Party from giving blacks their civil rights. Now, the Ku Klux Klan was afraid the blacks would be armed and able to defend themselves. So the Ku Klux Klan and the Democratic Party collaborated on America's first gun control law. In order for you to buy a gun or ammunition or a Bowie knife or a dirk knife. A dirk knife is a double-edged knife. A lot of people use it. It's almost always associated with the Scottish. In order for you to have a weapon, you must have a license. Technically not unconstitutional, but the Democratic Party put white supremacists in charge of the licensing division and told the white supremacists, do not give blacks their guns. Do not give blacks their guns. Upon that, the blacks were disarmed. Now, the Klan knew all blacks were Republican or Republican sympathetic. That's why they were attacked. Whites, the Klan had to examine them, spy on them, and determine who was Republican and who was Democrat. 2 out of 3 of their victims during that period known as the Great Republican Lynching, were white. Now, the Klan launched attacks all across the Confederacy. They had schoolhouses. School teachers would have their classrooms set up in the evenings and on the weekends to teach blacks to read so they could vote. All burned down. Teachers killed. They burned down entire neighborhoods. They didn't just burn down a shed here, a barn there. They burned down entire neighborhoods of blacks. Middle class, lower class, didn't matter, burn it down. People were whipped. People were lynched. People had body parts cut off. People were beheaded. Bombings, arsons, all intended to stop the Republicans from helping the blacks. Now, it was not the least bit uncommon for the Klan to come to the house in the middle of the night, drag everybody out of the house, and tell the head of the household at gunpoint, "You're a Republican, we'll come back and kill your fucking family." You think I'm being a conspiracy theorist? Wait a few minutes. Now, 1872, Ulysses S. Grant takes action. You know the 4th Amendment, right against search and seizure, unreasonable search, unreasonable seizure. 5th Amendment, you're not required to testify against yourself. 6th Amendment, judge, jury, prosecution, defense, bond hearing, bail, verdict. 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. Grant declared, like President Bush did 16, 17 decades later, he declared the Klan are enemy combatants. The Klan are enemy combatants, and because the Klan are enemy combatants, they are not entitled to the Constitution. The Klan took the Constitution away from the blacks. Grant took the Constitution away from the Klan. The Union Army invaded the South. A lot of guys said they were going to start a second Civil War. They arrested thousands of Klansmen. They arrested damn near the entire fucking Klan. They were denied all their civil rights. They were detained without trial. The Republican Party formed special investigation committees headed by black Republicans. The first 23 congressmen and senators, black, were Republican. In fact, the first 1,000+ politicians in this country that were black were Republican. You didn't see black Democrats until the 20th century. And the Republican Party set up this investigation committee, which is similar to Darrell Iss's oversight committee of today. And they dragged all these Klansmen in. Why are you doing this? What is going on here? Thousands, dozens of Klansmen, thousands of questions, thousands of pages of documentation still held by Congress today. Why are you doing this? They all testified under oath. We take our orders from the Democratic Party. The highest ranking Democrats in the country, senators, governors, congressmen, mayors, sheriffs, the Democratic council members did not even bother to hide it. They didn't even bother to hide it. Someone even boasted about it. They boasted that the Klan does work for them. The Klan does their dirty work. If the Democrats couldn't oppress the blacks in the legislative hall, they hired the Klan to do it the old-fashioned way. That's over and done with. No. Many years later, 1950s, there was, oh by the way, every single segregation law written by a Democrat. Sorry. There was a Democratic-controlled bus segregation in Montgomery, Alabama. And a young black Republican minister named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. decided to boycott and protest and oppose the city to desegregate the buses. The Democratic Party ordered the Klan to bomb Martin Luther King's house. Martin Luther King went to the police department and said, "Listen, I need to carry a gun. What is your good cause? The Klan is threatening me. Not good cause enough." The Democrats control the licensing division. They didn't want King to be armed because they didn't want him to defend himself. Okay? And ironically, people are lost in this, but I'm not. In my hometown, the courthouse where you go to, my home county, the courthouse where you go to get a handgun license, Martin Luther King Boulevard. Statue of Dr. King, you got to pass by in order to get to the door. I'm not lost on that irony. Now, the purpose of the Klan wanted the blacks disarmed so that they could kill them. And in the 1930s and 40s, when the Nazis took over Europe, Hitler's gun control policy was borrowed from the Klan-Democrat collaboration. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but if it was a coincidence, it was a really crazy coincidence. Okay? The Nazi Gun Control Act. No Jew shall have guns. No Jew shall have ammunition. Take the Democratic law, the Klan law, and just replace black with Jew. Throughout the entire civil rights movement, all the segregationists were Democrats, and they were all sponsored by the Klan. You didn't have to be a member of the Klan, but you had to be endorsed by the Klan in order to get the Democratic nomination. Yes. The camera's tilted a little bit, so I'm tilting a little bit to... I don't know. My brain is killing me today. So, this went on throughout the 50s and 60s. So, now, gun control today. Well, the NRA wants to give black people guns because the NRA wants black people to kill each other. Really? Okay. from 1975 to 2008, in all of D.C., only a police officer or a politician's bodyguard could have a handgun. A man named Dick Heller worked as a security guard. He had to have his handgun at his business place, use it on duty, and when he went home at night, he had to put it away. He couldn't take it home with him. He said, I want to buy a handgun. Can't do it. Against the law. And all long guns had to be disabled at all times. He ended up going to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided, yes, a law-abiding citizen does have the right to buy a handgun incorporated into their home defense system. 2010, same exact question comes up again. The city of Chicago and some other Illinois cities refused to alter their laws to comply with the Heller versus D.C. decision. So a black man named McDonald sued Chicago in the Supreme Court in order to buy a handgun and keep it at home for self-defense. And the Supreme Court, when they delivered their deliberation, their verdict, the Supreme Court documented in the court's official record everything I just said. The Klan works for the Democrats. Gun control was started in this country by the Democrats to disarm the blacks, to disarm the blacks so the Klan can kill them. That is accepted as fact by the Supreme Court, plus fact by the Congress from their records. We take our orders from the Democratic Party. Okay? This is accepted as fact. So if you think I'm a conspiracy theorist, then you think the 5 conservative justices on the Supreme Court are conspiracy theorists, and Congress official records are conspiracy theory. That's what you believe. That is written scientific fact. The Klan works for the Democrats. They still do, probably. Now, been no apology, that's for sure. Now, in 2008, prior to running for president, he who must not be named was upset about the Supreme Court decision in Heller. And he said publicly, there should be a law. I heard him say it. I saw the video. It should be illegal for people in the inner city to buy a gun. You live in the inner city, no gun, period. No registration, no capacity limit, no weapons accessory ban, no assault ban. You live in the inner city, you don't have a gun at all, period. Total denial. That's a front door violation of the Second Amendment. Now, who lives in the inner city? A lot of people. Hispanics, Asians, whites, Arabs, Christians, Jews. But the inner city, where I come from, a lot of people in the inner city are black. They're black. Okay? Mr. McDonald in Chicago was black. Washington, D.C., even after Heller, in order for you to get a handgun registration in D.C., you have to take a safety class. It's illegal to teach it in D.C., so you have to get in your car and drive to Maryland or Virginia to take the safety class. People in the inner city don't have a car. How can they drive to take the safety class? I don't know. People in the inner city in D.C. are what? Black. There are some whites, there are some Hispanics, but a lot of people in the inner city in D.C. are black. And I've been to D.C., I've seen the inner city, they're black. New York City, in order to get a long gun license, $120, pay every 3 years. Handgun license, $340, pay every 3 years. Now, the long gun catalog in New York City, you're not allowed any evil feature. You're not allowed more than 5 rounds of ammunition in the long gun. And there's a whole list just long of long guns banned. So, very, very limited catalog for long guns in the city, in New York City. Handgun, 10 rounds. No evil features on the handgun. But, you know. So now, who lives in New York City? Every mixture you could think of. New York City has more Italians than Rome. More Jews than Jerusalem. More Puerto Ricans than San Juan. But, if you live in D.C., if you live in New York City, if you live in the suburbs, can you afford the licensing fees? Yeah. If you live in the inner city, can you afford the licensing fees? No. Who is in the inner city in New York City? Blacks, Hispanics, immigrants. Okay? Now, when people say, wait a minute, I should have a gun. Guys in D.C., guys in Chicago, guys in New York City, they complain about unjust gun laws, unjust registration fees, unjust ban, unjust this. Who supports them? The NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. The Second Amendment Foundation is the legal branch of the NRA. They're a separate organization, but they work with the NRA. They cooperate with the NRA. They're friends with the NRA. They support the NRA. NRA supports them. Okay? Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. They're intertwined. Just like the Democrats and the Klan were intertwined. Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. Intertwined for gun rights. Now, people say I can't buy a gun because the fees are too high. I can't buy a gun because the man won't let me. I can't buy a gun because it's this, that. Who supports them? Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. Now, who opposes them? The city. Who supports the city? Million Mile March, illegal mayors against guns, Brady campaign to cause gun violence. That's right. When the people of D.C. said we should have handguns to defend our homes, when the people of Chicago said we should have handguns to defend our homes, Brady campaign to cause gun violence, illegal mayors against guns sided with the cities. Excessive permit fees. In New York City. Who was opposing the excessive permit fees in New York City? Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. Who was supporting them? Illegal mayors against guns, Brady campaign to cause gun violence, Million Mile March. So now, the inner city has black people living in it. The cities are denying them gun. Backdoor. You can't have this on your gun, you can't have that on your gun. You want to buy a gun, you got to pay a really big fee. You want to buy a gun, you got to go an hour and a half by car to take a class. Okay? They're being denied their rights. Some of them are white, some of them are Hispanic, a lot of them are black. And they're being denied their rights. And who supports them? Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. I'm saying it 5 and 6 times here. Okay? Now, the Klan tried as hard as they could to take guns away from blacks so they could kill them. Brady campaign to cause gun violence, illegal mayors against guns. They support gun control methods that deprive inner city people, a lot of people, inner city people especially, of guns. Blacks especially. Now, Paul Humke, who I think resigned, right? He Who Must Not Be Named, Emperor Bloomberg, Sarah Brady, Dianne Feinstein. Do they sit around the table at the Hall of Evil and say, let's take the blacks away from, let's take the guns away from the blacks? Probably not. Well, they definitely sit around the table at the Hall of Evil. But are they deliberately trying to disarm blacks? I don't know. But they're doing it. Whether it's accidental or on purpose. The anti-gun movement is disarming blacks. Now, the Democratic Party disarmed the blacks so the Klan could kill them. Brady campaign, illegal mayors against guns, Million Mile March. They're disarming blacks so that who can kill them? Drug dealers, gang bangers, home invaders. Okay, so the new Klan are the gang bangers and home invaders and the drug dealers. The new Democratic Party is Million Mile March, illegal mayors against guns, Brady campaign to cause gun violence. There's another case. Warren County, Illinois. If you live in public housing, you can't own a gun, period. If you live in public housing, no gun. Who's fighting that? Second Amendment Foundation, NRA. Who's fighting to keep it? Illegal measures against guns, Brady Campaign to Cause Violence, Maine March, obviously Warren County. So the NRA wants everyone to be armed, including blacks, so that blacks can defend themselves from people trying to kill them, i.e. Democrats. Okay? You think I'm lying? Go online, look up terrorist wing of the Democratic Party. One of the pictures is a Klansman in full gear with a flaming crucifix behind him giving a Nazi salute. You know who it is? Robert Byrd, the Democratic senator from West Virginia, exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan, and mentor to he who must not be named. Yes, he who must not be named studied under the exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. So Jason, shut your fucking mouth.